Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Anjaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mishnapad Paramahansa Buddhikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Buddhikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 26th day of December 2022 in San Diego, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 9 entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. And we're in text number 34, is that correct? That's the last verse. That is? Okay. All right. Yes, I'm sorry, page 416 in most of your books, not in yours, Antonella.
Famous.
I'm sorry?
I said famous verse.
Very famous. 934. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mang Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktvaibam Atmanam Madparayanaha Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mang Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktvaibam Atmanam Madparayanaha. Okay. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktvaibam Atmanam Madparayanaha. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktvaibam Atmanam Madparayanaha. Go ahead, Dharma. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktvaibam Atmanam Madparayanaha. Go ahead. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Jaji Mam Naraskuru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktvaibam Atmanam Madparayanaha. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Atmanam Madparayanaha. Ross. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktvaibam Atmanam Madparayanaha. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Yuktvaibam Atmanam Madparayanaha. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mame Vaishyasi Yuktvaibam Atmanam Madparayanaha. Matmana, always thinking of me. Bhava, become. Mat, my. Bhaktaha, devotee. Mat, my. Yaji, worshipper. Mam, unto me. Namaskuru, offer obeisances. Mam, unto me. Eva, completely. Aishasi, you will come. Yuktva, being absorbed. Evam, thus. Atmanam, your soul. Matparayanaha, devoted to me. Translation. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. Purport. In this verse it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to that which is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is the absolute truth. His body, his mind, and he himself are one and absolute. It is stated in the Kurma Purana, as it is quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami in his Anubhashya comments on Chaitanya Charitamrita, 5th chapter, Adi Lila, verses 41 to 48, Deha Dehiva Bedho Yang Neshwade Vidyate Kvachit. This means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because the commentators do not know this science of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading people. There are some who are demonic. They also think of Krishna, but enviously, just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. He was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as his enemy. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. This kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Understanding Krishna otherwise from the wrong source will prove fruitless. One should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna. With conviction in his heart that Krishna is the Supreme, he should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds of thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and devotional service is practiced there. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisances to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity and engage his mind, his body, his activities, everything. That will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer to Krishnaloka. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. The 7th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad Gita have explained pure devotional service to the Lord that is free from speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahmajyoti and localized Paramatma, but a pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. There is a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. The devotee, in the beginning, may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be a perfectly saintly person. His accidental non-devotional activities will diminish, and he will soon be situated without any doubt in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down, because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of his pure devotees. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. Thus end the Bhagavatam purports to the 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the most confidential knowledge. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So I think this chapter is definitely worth a review. We've just finished it, and we could actually just start over again in the chapter. It's so important. So this idea, first of all, the first word, itam te guyitamam pravakshamanussuyave. My dear Lord, because you're never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So why is it confidential? It's confidential because it teaches us how to really reestablish a close personal relationship with Krishna. That's really confidential. It's one thing to know, and that's what will become clear in this chapter, that Krishna is God, He's the source of everything, He's the Supreme Master. And that's confidential, but it's not the most confidential. The most confidential is this idea, this status of being intimately related with Krishna as a friend, as an intimate servant, and having a relationship of love. That's what confidential means. Otherwise, it's good, it's official. Just like in the 7th chapter, Krishna says, "Chaturvadha bhajante mam jana sukritanarjuna arto jigyasarati jnanicha bharatarshava." That there's these 4 kinds of pious people who approach me. They're not enemies of Krishna, but they're approaching for some material reason. Arto is very common, means troubled by something. Some pain, someone's attacking them, whatever. And one approaches God for safety, which is good, because you can approach the material energy, try to buy some weapon somewhere, or do a million different things, but you're approaching God. Jigyasu, those who are curious. This is very good, because that curiosity, when it's directed toward the right source, can be the beginning of one's actual devotional service. But it's still at the point where someone doesn't know about Krishna very much. Then there's the artarti, those who want some money or something of material value. And the jnani, those who really know of the knowledge that they want to attain, and they want to increase it. And Krishna says in the subsequent verses, these are the most dear to me. And it culminates in this famous verse, Bhavanam Jamanamante Jnanavamam Papajate, that after many births of cultivating knowledge, one who's truly in knowledge surrenders unto me, understanding that I, Vasudeva, am everything. So this chapter is so key. First of all, it's within the middle 6 chapters, which Krishna says are the substance of the book. It deals with pure devotional service. And Krishna will explain, some of his powers, how he's master of the universe, Maya Jakshina Sakriti, that's also here. But at the same time, it leads to this, become my devotee. Manmana, think of me, become my devotee, bow down to me, you will certainly come to me. And in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, he repeats this verse. I don't know if there's another verse that he repeats like that, indicating its importance. He said, again, I'm going to tell you the most confidential. He repeats, think of me, become my devotee, worship me, bow down to me. I promise you'll come to me because you're my very dear friend. So now he's relating how it's a very intimate relationship. So let's just quickly go through. The chapter begins like this, as I mentioned. Krishna promises, because you're never envious of me, I'll still impart the most confidential knowledge. And then he kind of praises that knowledge. The knowledge is the king of education, Raja Vidya, the most secret, Rajaguyam, the most purifying, Pavitram Idam Uttamam. It is understood by direct perception, which is important because we know that direct perception can be often very misleading. Right, that's the problem with sense perception and the ascending process of knowledge. You're going to make mistakes because you don't know the whole picture. But here Krishna says that this is such a wonderful process that you will directly perceive, as time goes on, these very confidential or secret aspects of the absolute truth. So that's wonderful. And then susukam kartam abhyam. It's not nearly as difficult as what I just outlined, Krishna would say, in the 6th chapter, going alone to the Himalayas and sitting on a deer skin and practicing pranayama. So it's all very auspicious, this famous verse, susukam kartam abhyam, with a long and a very important and very rich purport, which we won't have time to go over here. And then he warns that if someone doesn't have faith in this knowledge, ashradhana, those who are not faithful in devotional service, can't attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death, to this material world. So this faith is the foundation. It may be preliminary faith, as Rupa Goswami describes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, adhau shraddha tata sadhu sangha. But that faith, which is in that case, some preliminary interest and respect will bring you into the association of devotees. Saru Sangha. You see, so that you can be purified, because outside of the association of devotees, now it can be mediated. It's like now we have medium. If you pick up Prabhupada's books, you may be in the middle of a jungle somewhere, but if you're reading them, you're associating with Prabhupada. Vani and Vapu. Vani is the words, Vapu is the form. The association with the actual form of Prabhupada is very limited in time. A few fortunate souls had a lot of that, you know. But more important, Prabhupada said, is to continue to associate with me and all the great acharyas, you know, through the words. So that nourishes our faith. Those who are not faithful on this path cannot attain me. Therefore they return to this path of birth and death. And then he starts to describe some of his relationship with the material energy. This is like what we commonly know as God. By me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So through his energy, he is present everywhere. And the great souls, they see him everywhere through his energy. Just like we were encouraged at the beginning in the 7th chapter. Raso homapsu konteya. You know, after Krishna describes, my energy is earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, all these material energies, they're coming from me, and that's what this universe consists of, including our own bodies. But how do we perceive Krishna in them? Then he says, there's a higher energy, the living entity. This is all energy. In this way, I'm present everywhere. So you can see me through the energy. You taste some water, know that I provide the water, I provide the tongue, I provide your sensation, everything is coming from me, so think of me. The light of the sun and the moon, the power, you know, the ability in man, etc., like that. So this is one way of understanding Krishna. And here he's summing up, Maya tatamidam sarvam. In my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. So I am not in them in my completely personal form. Yes, I'm there as a super soul, and he can manifest himself as Shyama Sundar if our love is there. But he is there for sure in his super soul form, within our heart to every atom. And then, but I'm not there. You know, it reminds me of like the koans, you know, the Buddhists, it's there but not there, you know. But I'm not there. He contradicts it. Matstani sa mayatatam but natamatstani bhutani. And yet everything that is created doesn't rest in me. This is text 5. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I'm the maintainer of all living entities, and although I'm everywhere, I'm not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. And then he gives an example how the sky accommodates the air. It's so larger. The wind is blowing, but the sky is even larger. As the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. So we're within Krishna because we're within his energies. How can we, you know, and he's there. There's one verse in the first canto, Narada speaks, Idam mi Vishram Bhagavani Vetara. That this whole universe is in one sense is Vishnu. Idam mi Vishram Bhagavan. Eva itara, but it appears to be something else. It is him because it's nothing but his energies. But personally he's aloof. So that oneness and difference, inconceivable, beta. Okay. So he says the history, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature. At the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. So this could refer to just the night of Brahma, when everything merges into Garbhodakshai Vishnu, but comes out again when Brahma creates everything anew, you know. So is this rhythm of creation, maintenance, and destruction, create, maintenance, and Krishna is behind it, all of it, as you'll explain in a couple of verses. Maya Dakshena Pakati, so you say, is by his vision, by his intelligence, that's all happening. The whole cosmic order is under me, under my will it's automatically manifested again and again, my will it is annihilated at the end. Although all this work does not bind me, I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as a neutral. And then this famous verse, Maya Jakshena Prakriti Suyate Satarachanan. The material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So the material energy is doing it, but I'm behind material energy. Just like in the Brahma Samhita, Srishti, Stiti, Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha, Chayeva Yasa Bhuvanani Babharti Durga. Ichchanu rupam aviyascha govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So material energy is creating, maintaining, destroying, but she's acting completely under the will of Krishna. It's just like a reflection. In other words, completely, we don't see who's behind pulling the strings, but she's only acting under his direction. Chayeva means like a shadow. Vibharti Durga, this Durga energy, very powerful. So, so the intelligent person, let's not worship Durga. Let's worship the power behind Durga. We worship Govinda. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. But people get befooled. Okay, well, Durga is providing everything. Now, if I worship properly, I can become rich and whatever. It's foolish. So now he's criticizing those who don't recognize his supremacy. The fools, avadanatima mudha, they deride me when I appear in the human form. They don't understand, they do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. In other words, they're ignorant of my godhood, and they think that I'm an ordinary person, an ordinary man, like these demons. The fools. I always wondered, they really got to be dumb, because like Dhenukasura, he was annihilated by Balaram like that. And all his friends, and his friends and associates, the other donkeys, demons, they couldn't restrain themselves. Instead of running away, they ran toward Krishna. Well, we're going to avenge our friend, and they all got killed. Of course, that was their good fortune. They're killed by Krishna. But this is the fools and rascals. They don't recognize the godhood of the human form of Krishna.
Even as a baby, he showed the whole cosmos.
To his mother, he killed Putana. Yeah. He was always God.
No baby can do that.
No, human can do it at all. Okay, very important purport there. Now then he describes what is the fate of these fools who deride him, don't recognize his godhood. This text 12, Moghasha Moga Kamana, this word Moga means baffled, defeated. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, the fruit of activities, the cult of knowledge are all defeated. So we're surrounded by people like that. They may have heard the name Krishna. We're famous now since the 60s, but it doesn't register on them that this is important to them personally. This is their God, It's one of the many religions, people believe in mostly. We're beyond that. They're not beyond it. And therefore, they're attracted by demonic and atheistic views. That's the choice. You can either find out, become inquisitive, and be fortunate enough to investigate real sources of knowledge about God, or you can be in that unfortunate character of just push the whole thing aside and let's see how we can manipulate the material energy. Those are the real demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruit of activities, their culture of knowledge are all defeated. And you can see that in our present-day society. On the other hand, and this is the Mahatmanas Tumamparta, when you see the word tu, it's usually a change, it means but. So that's 13. Prabhupada would always quote this. These verses are now very, very key. Mahatmanas Tamamparta Daivim Pakatamarshada Bhajanti Nanya Manaso Gyatva Bhutanamabhyam. So these demons, Mogasha, Prakati Mohinim Shita, they take shelter of the bewildering material energy, of Maya energy. But the devotees, the Mahatmas, they take shelter of the Daivi Prakriti, the divine energy. There's this basic philosophy, there's three categories of energy. There's the internal energy, the external energy, and the marginal energy. We're by nature spiritual, but we have a tendency to get absorbed in matter, and so we get covered by the matter, and we suffer like that. But Krishna's internal energy is completely independent of the material energy. It's totally, immediately under his control. And so the Mahatmas, they take shelter of that energy through the medium of the spiritual master, like that often. And so what's the symptom? What is the characteristic? Bhajanti Nanamanaso. That's the first one mentioned. They worship me with undeviating mind. Gyatva bhutanam avyam, knowing me to be the source of everything, and avyam means never inexhaustible, right? And what do they do? This is the first, key verse, Satatam Kirtiyanto Mam. They're always chanting my glories, the Sankirtan movement. Always, Satatam Kirtiyanto Mam, and striving, Yatantascha Dvidavadha, with very firm conviction. Bowing down before me, they say, with love and devotion, Nitya Yukta Upasate. In this way, always linked to me in yoga, they're always worshipping me. This is the characteristic of the Mahatmas, is that they know the importance of undeviating, ahoitikiya pratiyata, unmotivated and unbroken devotional service. That's the Mahatmas. So this is a very important section. Then by contrast, there's others who don't worship me directly. Jnana yagena chapyane. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as one without a second, diverse in many, and in the universal form. And but Krishna says in the 16, but it is I who am the ritual, I, the sacrifice, the offering to the answers, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering. In other words, they are using ingredients and processes that are created by me, provided me, to worship something other than me directly. They have a skewed vision of the Absolute. So this is another way of avoiding surrender to Krishna. And then here Krishna is a little taste of what we find in the 10th chapter. I am the father of the universe. I am the mother, the support, the grandsire, the object of knowledge, the purifier, the syllable Om, and the Rig and the Sam and the Yajurvedas. So these are all things that people employ in sacrifices to the Absolute, or whatever, But Krishna has provided it. It's all meant to be directly offered back to Him. But you can get deviated in this way also and think there's something else to worship. I am the goal, I'm the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, the most dear friend. I'm the creation, the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. I give heat, I withdraw and send forth the rain. I'm immortality, I'm the death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. Then he gives two conclusive verses about why we shouldn't worship the demigods. Trividya. Who remembers what the Trividyas are? It's like the Trivedi's. Yeah. No. They know from the three Vedas, Rik, Sama, Yajur. Yeah. And they worship me indirectly. Mam Soma Puta Papa, to become free of sin. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planets of Indra, planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Well, that seems, what's wrong with that? Enjoy godly delights. Let's go for it. So Krishna explains in the next verse why you shouldn't go for it. Tetam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam, having enjoyed vast pleasures, right, vishalam, on Indraloka, what happens? Chine punya matya lokam vishantam. Your punya, your pious credits, literally, are exhausted, and you come back to this world, fall back to this world of death. So you haven't gone anywhere. Evam trahi dharmam, this is Trivedas again, trahi dharmam, anupapana gatagatam, going and coming. You've gone up there, now you're coming back down, you haven't made any progress. Kama labante, you're trying to enjoy desiring sense enjoyments. Kama. So that doesn't work. On the other hand, this is a nice key verse, 22. Ananyas chintayanto mam yejanapaya pasate desham nityabhyakanam yoga kshema vahamyaham. That those who will always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. I personally carry, this yoga and kshema. This yoga and kshema, it's a kind of an idiom in Sanskrit. Yoga are the things we need to connect with, to live, shelter, food, and things like that. And kshema is the security, the safety. Otherwise, you'll be in a state of terror all the time, and you can't. So Krishna says, I will provide that, yoga and kshema. And it's reflected in the Sharanagati, the list of 6, where it says, Rakshishistati Goptudve, that always confident that Krishna will protect and Krishna will provide. That protection and provision is what this yoga kshema is all about. So, and this is a promise to those who think of me with undeviating mind. They're always remembering me and worshiping me, parayupasate. in this way always linked to me, I provide what they need, and I preserve what they have, I protect them. And then, those who worship devotees those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. This is this famous phrase, avidi purvakam. They don't know the real conclusion. I am the only enjoyer or master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. So from every direction, he's coming to the point of manmana bhava madbhakto. This is the conclusion. And then he says, okay, you want to worship the devas, you'll go there. You'll go to Deva, Indraloka, even Brahmaloka. But they're all places of return. Didn't he say? That was, I think, last chapter. Brahma bhuvana loka punaravi. Even if you get to Brahmaloka, you eventually come down. So if you really want a permanent state, you want to go back to Godhead permanently, then you have to get out of this material world, and you can't worship the devas.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So when we say Brahmaloka,
You can use the mic. It'll be heard. Yeah. Oh, that one up there, which was closer. Yeah, just turn it on.
Hare Krishna. So I was saying when people end up in heavenly planets, or maybe we were there before, so that means there was not a complete surrender. We did good deeds, maybe we did good karma, maybe we lived a good life here, and we ended up on those, but we did not completely surrender to Krishna.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's that, because surrendering to Krishna means you really have to negate all material desire, and trying to go to heaven is not doing that. That's actually multiplying it. It's like a calculation. Well, I know this world is not where it's at, but I can stay up there for millions of years, and now I've heard so much about Nanda Gardens, so it's really a foolish bet, because Hare Krishna. Yeah, you can. Yeah. Make sure they have books, just set them up. So Krishna is trying to explain that anything short of surrender to him and aspiring to serve him completely, becoming completely free of material desire, is going to keep you here in the material world. And in the material world, there's going to be suffering. You're not going to really get it. So even if you say, okay, I'll go up to Indraloka for 1,000,000 years, but then that comes to an end. As human beings, we have a responsibility and an opportunity to end our whole entrapment in this world, which has been going on for millions of births. This is the responsibility of human life. And if we don't recognize that, then we stay in the realms of birth and death and suffering. So that's a basic principle of knowledge, and it can give us impetus, can give us inspiration to strive, against the things that keep us here, laziness and attraction for material things. Is that time is so precious. We should cultivate Krishna consciousness and come to the point of being able to relish the chanting of the holy name and things, so that we're not attracted to the material happiness.
One follow-up question.
Yeah.
So Lord Brahma, Indra, they are not completely surrendered yet also to Krishna.
Indra, it's an easy answer. But Brahma also has some attachment. But there's Brahma and there's Brahma. There's a lot of Brahmas. Our particular Brahma is the head of our Sampradaya, so he's going back to Godhead. But not all Brahmas go back to Godhead. That's the fact. It's easy to become attached to the position and get entangled, and then come down and like that. So this is, I don't know if we did this one, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. What you worship, what you focus your desire and aspirations on, that's where you're going to go. That's where your consciousness is, and So Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. This is text 25. We're on page 404. 404. Oh boy, he's got the other book. Yeah, you're not going to find it in 404. So chapter 9, text 25. 9:25. Look for the chapter and verse. which is in the gutter at the top of the page, 925. So the translation reads, those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings, and those who worship me will live with me. So all these other destinations are temporary and miserable, but if you come to Krishna, then you achieve unending happiness, Satchidananda existence. And then comes this very key verse about prasadam. In other words, how to direct one's attention to Krishna, how to begin one's devotional life. He makes it very easy here. Patram pushpam palam toyam yume bhaktya prayachati. Tadaham bhakti paritamishnai prayatatmana. If one offers me with love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. So it's not dependent on how much money you have. You can buy very opulent offerings. It's what's in your heart. And that if, whatever you can afford, if you purchase it and you prepare it, especially some food stuff, and offer it to Krishna with love, according to rules and regulations which you can easily find, then Krishna will accept it, meaning that he accepts the offering and he opens the channel where you can begin to experience real bhakti and real happiness. So then he gives the rest of the chapter here. Well, it's some important points. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer and give away, whatever austerities you perform, this is text 27, you do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So this is really the state of pure devotion, where as you live your life, you're really thinking, okay, now I'm endeavoring in this, and the fruit will be offered enjoyed by Krishna. So it's an act of devotion. Everything that you do, this is the ideal of pure devotion, is that you're never out of the realm of pure devotion, so you're always being reminded of Krishna, and you're feeling Krishna's reciprocation. That's what when he accepts something you offer, then you can feel, oh. And we find that if we please Krishna, that we become happy. We don't know why, but that's a fact. And then we realize, well, I can do that all the time. If I just chant his name, if I just sweep the floor, if I do some simple service, this will be pleasing to Krishna, and then I'll be happy. And you find it frees you from the thrall of trying to please your senses and your mind all the time, which is impossible, because the material world is not set up that way. But you can please Krishna all the time by directing your love to him. So 28, Shubhashava Palarevim, in this way you will be freed from the bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me, in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. So this is Krishna's promise, and we should take it seriously. Krishna says, I'm equal to all. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I'm equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So the decision is with us. It's not that some are more fortunate than others and they can do devotion, I can't do devotion. We all can do bhakti at the level that we are. Who is like here in this room is not eligible to chant Hare Krishna? Everybody's eligible. It's completely free. This is the great gift of Lord Chaitanya, who's Krishna himself. In this age, Kala doshana de rajanasti eko mahadgana. This is an ocean of faults, this age of Kali. Who can deny it? The ocean seems to be rising around our ears. But there's always one very good quality in this age. Asti eko mahadguna kirtana deva Krishna sa mukta sangha param vrajet. Very, very important verse in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, near the end. Kaler doshanade. Doshanade means an ocean of faults. And in the previous verses of that chapter, in previous chapters, he enunciated the different faults of this age. We don't live so long, we're always disturbed, we're misguided, truthfulness is decreasing, so many things. You don't need the Bhagavatam to understand it, just read the newspapers. I don't recommend it, but if you want to find it, it's like... that can be it's happening everywhere. Who ever heard? What is this? A cyclone bomb? I mean, a cyclone bomb just hit, the East Coast or something. And in Florida, my friend Indra lives in northern Florida, in Alachua. I communicated with him. 20 degrees, 19 degrees in Florida. Wait a minute, it hasn't happened before. So this whole Kali Yuga is becoming crazy and very difficult to tolerate. But there's one very good quality. I'm sure in Alachua the lights may have gone out, they chanted Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. You can chant, and by doing that, Mukta Sangha, means you break the attachments, you break you're no longer affected by all of these crazy things that are happening around you, that you're linking in to Krishna within the heart. And he's giving you the ability to tolerate and relish the devotee association and tolerate and be able to, even in this be confident of ultimate return back to Godhead. So Krishna is not envious to anyone. He's always ready to reciprocate depending on our willingness to serve him and worship him. And then these verses which we've been discussing actually in the morning class also, Apiche Suracharo, the old Jamil who did certainly Sudaracharo, but he was saved because he chanted the holy name. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he's engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace, O son of Kunti, declared boldly that my devotee never perishes. So this would take a lot of time to explain all these. We've been through it in the last few days. But the idea is that there's no eternal damnation in Krishna consciousness. There's nothing like that. That you're out forever. No. There's always a redemption, depending on our willingness to be redeemed and to do what's necessary. So Krishna is not partial. That's the Samoham Samabhuteshu. He's ready, just like he showed at Lord Chaitanya with Jagai Madai, and Lord Krishna did with Putana. He redeemed her. She tried to kill him and sucked. She's the worst demon in my book. Someone who kills children and sucks their blood. Can there be a worse demon than that? So here's this demon who is using her specialty. He says, I got it covered. I'll just use my shape-shifting potency to turn into a beautiful woman, and then I'll smear my breast with poison, and this little baby will be gone, and I'll go back to Kamsa and get my reward. But Krishna is still God, even as a baby. So he killed her. It was a very painful death. But then she was rewarded with a place in the spiritual world as his wet nurse, an aid to Mother Yashoda. He forgot about all of the demonic part, and he said, she gave me a breast, I'm going to go up to give her a place. Uddhava says, who could be more merciful than Krishna? Where am I going to go to find? Is the verse like?
Blessing to be killed by God.
Of course. But I mean, most of them, they don't get a place like that. They get merged into the form, they get liberation. So Krishna is so merciful. Quickly. Ahobakiyam, yeah. We don't have time. I'm going to try. I'm almost finished, and we can do the whole chapter. So he quickly becomes righteous, attains lasting peace, O son of Kunti, declared boldly that my devotee never perishes. And then this famous verse, Mami Parta Vipashita, which has a new translation, which I'll give you right now. O son of Pita, those who take shelter in me, though they be low-born, women, Vaishyas, merchants, or Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. And for the can, you can read will. They will attain the supreme destination. That's what Prabhupada meant. Even though he said can approach, he meant will attain. That's what the Sanskrit says in plain as day. Yanti param gatim. They go to the supreme destination. Even those who, there are the verse mentions papayoni, which means sinful births. Which doesn't include these. If Vaishyas are sinful births, they can get another thread, they get second birth. By nature, Vaishyas are sinful? No. So, but the point is, wherever you start, if you surrender, they take shelter of Krishna, Avashritya, then you'll attain the highest goal. How much more this is so for the righteous Brahmins, devotees. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. And then the verse we read today. How does that surrender? What do you do for this surrender? Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisance to me, worship me, being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. This is the process of devotional service, beginning with the chanting of the holy name. So this chapter 9 can be read again and again. Everything is there. And then we'll begin chapter 10 tomorrow. And we have 1 minute, so I'll give you a little poem. This is about the holy name. Many of you have heard this before, but it's worth hearing again. Radheti nama navasundara siddhu mugdam Krishneti nama madhuradvata gara dugdam Savakshanam sodaviraga himena ramyam kritvata daiba pibame rasane chadarte. An excellent fresh nectar drink with endless subtle tastes. Such is the name of Radha, by whom all three worlds are graced. Condensed milk that is wonderfully delicious, thick and sweet. Such is the name of Krishna, in whom all attractions meet. Now mix these drinks, O thirsty tongue, and add the cooling, fragrant spice of love, a prize the wise will try to buy at any price. And then at every moment drink this beverage most fine, and make my heart supremely blissful, peaceful, and divine. Eternally true. So that's all we have time for. Now we're going to have a kirtan in 5 minutes. We can't use any microphone because there's a special devotee sleeping upstairs. He takes rest very early, and he asked me, please, quiet so that I can get. He gets up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and he goes out, distributes books, sometimes $500, $600 a day, and he's the world Sankirtan minister. And we're very fortunate that he's taken shelter of our temple, and we don't want him to leave. So we'll have our kirtan. We'll clap. It'll be very ecstatic. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
It's actually good. It's a different mood of...
Yeah. And after all, how many mics did they have in Lord Chaitanya's day, like that?
Okay, we're going back to those old times.
Yeah, very organic. And we'll begin chapter 10 tomorrow.
Yeah. So we have how many days?